All right, so welcome to the Elevated Admin Community. I'm Mackenzie Lyons, your host for today. I am a senior CFA as well as a facilitator on some of our trainings here at Delegate Solutions. I work with business leaders to embrace a culture of delegation throughout their lives, personal and professional. I'm based in Fort Mill, South Carolina, which is crazy close to Charlotte, North Carolina. And I live here with my husband and son. I am so excited to have you join us today. Our purpose as a community is to connect, learn, share, grow, and develop. And we are our greatest educators when it comes to the admin world. Each of us have different challenges and we've tackled them in our roles. And while this group was created so that we can learn from experts, it was also more so created so we can leverage our greatest strengths learning from each other. Each monthly session is run the exact same way so you know always what to expect. The first half of our session is always focused on a guest speaker or an expert in a particular subject matter that will help make our jobs and lives easier as assistants. After the speaker, we'll enter into our shared learning breakouts. Again, a time for us to leverage our collective brain power and expertise to share new ideas, tools, tricks, or even to brainstorm solutions to issues and challenges that we may be facing currently. We'll end with some announcements, and within 1 hour, we'll leave feeling like we've added to and improved our toolbox of skills and knowledge. So I'm going to go ahead and move into our topic for today's session. I am so incredibly thrilled to introduce Christy Clayton. She is founder and visionary of the Female Integrator Mastermind and Accelerate Leaders. She is also a leadership coach and a mentor and a keynote speaker, and she's writing her first book. And I don't even know what it's about, but I know that you need to go ahead and put it on your pre-order list. Like, I know it needs to be read by everyone here. Recognizing women having the power to do extraordinary things. So Christy founded the Female Integrator Mastermind, or FIM, an international peer-to-peer mentoring platform for women integrators who run their businesses on the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. Her passion is rooted in encouraging women to be their best selves. This dynamic community of women provides network and support and resources to encourage and propel women forward in their leadership position to reach maximum career potential, while making a significant contribution to their company's growth. I know, it's a mouthful, but it's all true and amazing. Christy strives to help women discover their unique talents and nurtures their greatness into skilled and confident leaders, which is why she founded Accelerate Leaders. It's a premier coaching program that guides clients to be in command of their own personal and professional lives, while learning how to show up to every table with confidence and lead with effective communication and leadership skills. Simply put, Christy wants to change the world for women leaders by unleashing the badasses within them. And I have personally experienced that. It is amazing. So Christy, we are thrilled to have you today to share your perspectives on the perfection traps we often find ourselves in. So with that, I am going to mute myself and leave it to you to share your knowledge with our community.
Perfect. Thank you, Mackenzie. I appreciate the introduction. Hello, everyone. As Lindsay said, I am Christy Clayton, and I would really love for this time together to be very interactive and a conversation. So, Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind, do you mind if we stop sharing the screen so we can truly see one another? If you have your camera off, if you could please turn it on, and let's really truly make this a community conversation right now. I'd like to start by asking you a question. I am perfect. I have to be perfect. How many of you have ever said that to yourselves? If I'm not perfect, I have failed. Anybody else said that to themselves? Yeah. If I'm not perfect, I have let someone else down. Anybody? Yeah. So I will tell you, and I was the same way. I always felt like I had to live up to a certain standard. I could not make any type of mistake, or failure was an absolute failure. And I was not going to be a good person or a good this or a good that if I was not absolutely perfect. And when I started really self-reflecting and trying to figure out, why am I behaving this way? Perfection is not reality. We all make mistakes. We all have things that we go through in life that we overcome. In fact, I really truly believe at this point that failure is absolutely an accomplishment, because if you're not failing at something, it means you're not trying hard enough. You're setting your bar way too low. Right. So I started looking into things, and because I wanted to know, is this, like, as women, is this something that we are kind of prone to, or is this something that is gender neutral? Like, how does this all work? And one of the first statistics I looked at was that most women will only apply for a job or a promotion if they have met how much of the job qualifications? Do you want to guess? You can turn your mics on and talk with me here.
100%.
100%. Anybody else? Yeah, it's 100%. If we're looking at a job description, we literally have to meet every single qualification, or we have to have experience in 100% of all of the roles and responsibilities before we will even consider applying for it. What? Do you want to guess what percentage they will, if they meet a certain percentage, what is that percentage for them?
25.
5?
I'd say 60.
60?
I was thinking 50.
50? It's actually 30%.
Oh my God.
So why are they comfortable applying for a job or a promotion if they've made 30%, but yet we have to say 100%? And so we really started thinking about this, not only just in researching, but not just from a perspective of like all women, but I started self-reflecting on myself. And what I realized is, wow, from the time we are young women, and I'm talking like young, we are conditioned to believe that we have to be perfect. So one of the things that I looked at was literally from the time we're born, right? When we are born, Disney has all of these beautiful princesses that are presented to us, and they all have these perfect lives, and they overcome these perfect situations. Their hair, their makeup, like everything is perfect. And I don't know about you, but my side braid never looks like Elsa's. It's never that perfect, right? But then we start growing up, we start going to school, and we're told we have to have perfect grades. We have to have straight A's, right? When I remember being in school, and my dad would say to me, Christy, you made a B this time. I think you can do better. Now, I know my dad did not have any ill intentions by saying that to me, but what he was instilling in me was that I needed to be perfect, and nothing below an A was perfect. However, my brother, on the other hand, he would get C's and D's, and oh, my parents were praising him. Now, granted, there's a lot of things that go into that, right? My brother and I have very different learning styles. We're two very, very different personalities. But again, that perfection was instilled in me. Then as we become young teenagers, we start going to college, suddenly those expectations still remain, right? We're starting to graduate college, and we're told, hey, you have to be married by a certain age. Hey, you have to have 1.93 children, by the way, is the statistic. And if you have 0.93 children, I'd love to talk to you and figure out what that is. But we have to have all of these things in place. We have to be married. We have to have careers. We have to have children. We look at magazine articles that show these perfect homes. We look at magazine articles that show these perfect women who have, the perfect body type. And all of the things that come along with this perfection, right? We see TV shows with these women who have perfect families. And this idea of perfection just continues over and over and over in our lives. And so I stepped back and I said, what can we do to realize that we're not perfect beings? Because one thing that has come up for us recently is these Zoom meetings, right? You see these little screens and everybody's picture perfect in these screens. I promise you, you look over to the side of this camera, it's not picture perfect over there. There's a little bit of a mess over there. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. So what happens when you make a mistake? Or when you realize, oh my goodness, this is not going in the direction that I want to, and I've got to pivot and make a change. The first thing that we can do is just to recognize it, right? Take a brief moment to realize that the perfect scenarios you're seeing people post on Facebook, that is not their entire life. The magazine articles that you're seeing with a perfect kitchen and no dishes inside of the sink, or nothing sitting on top of the counter, all of the things are just in the perfect place. Take a look behind that camera. I promise you there's a bigger mess behind the camera. When you're sitting on a Zoom call and you're looking at everybody's perfect working spaces, it's okay to recognize that behind that screen, it's probably not perfect. And you living up to the expectation of perfection, it's not realistic either, because all of those photos, those images, and everything that you're seeing, that's not reality either. So step one is really truly recognizing it. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has the perfect life. Nobody has the perfect setup. Nobody has the perfect job. No, the perfection is just not real. So then what do? You get to choose. You can consciously make a decision about what you want to do. When you realize, oops, I've made a mistake, you get to choose how you handle that. You can choose to say, I'm going to continue down this path and I'm just going to make it perfect and I'm going to figure it out. Or you can choose to say, hey, you know what? Pivot, change. I need to really sit back and look at this and determine what direction I need to go now. You can choose to apologize for whatever it was that went wrong, and then move forward in step 3. You always want to make sure that you don't get stuck in perfection, that it's okay for you to say, I made the mistake, I made it right. How do I continue moving forward? Getting stuck should be the one thing that's a non-negotiable. What are some times in your life that you have been presented with something where you felt like you had to be perfected? It had to be perfect.
I will happily share. So I shared earlier in my intro that I'm a facilitator for one of our training courses. And I was a teacher for many, many years and thought it would not translate, teaching 5, 6, and 7-year-olds to flopping to training entrepreneurs. So I was like, I can't do it. Like, I applied for the job, by the way, but I was like, I can't do it.
Right? So Mackenzie, when you got in that situation, what did you have to do to change your mindset that you could do it, that you could apply for the job?
So applying for the job was not the hard part. Accepting the title was, the position was. And when I accepted it, I remember saying, I really want to do this, but I don't think I can do it. Like, I don't think I can be a public speaker in this format to a bunch of adults. And so to change my mindset, y'all are going to laugh so hard, but this is just how I needed to, is I had to practice and like show myself. So there's a reason why I have a green screen on, because there's mess everywhere, Christy. But I sat in this office for hours and hours and hours, week after week after week, practicing it. And, you know, I obviously talk with my hands. So I just did it. And I just owned like the people that were not in my Zoom room were there. And then I forced my coworkers to come and listen to me beta test so that they could give me feedback on how it was coming across in a Zoom room. And I didn't force them, by the way, it was a volunteer. Ask them. So, and just having people say like, no, you know what you're doing, this is okay. But yeah, I had to like fake my way into it and just keep practicing it.
I love it, but it was a choice you made, right?
Oh
You
yeah.
got to choose whether you accepted the role and took it on and then owned it and we're moving forward with it. So that's exciting. And a lot of what I'm hearing you say is it was the imposter syndrome that was kind of keeping you back, right? That negative voice that talks to you that says you can't do this or you're not good enough or all of the things that, you know, they're that voice can tell you. And so that's another aspect, and it's a whole nother talk that I do. But you know, there are definitely tools and tips and tricks here too. One of the things that I think when it comes to imposter syndrome that is really, really, really important is that you are able to identify it. So with my imposter syndrome, I've actually given her a name, and she actually has a face. And it allows me to be able to sit down and have conversation with her, right? When she's speaking loudly, and believe me, there are times in my life when she is screaming at the top of her lungs at me and telling me that I'm not worthy of this, or I'm not good enough to do this, or so-and-so would do it better, or who are you that people even want to listen to you talk, or believe me, the other very, very nasty things that she can say. I can actually have conversation with her, right? Because she has a name, and excuse my French here, but her name is Bitchin' Betty. And Betty and I will have conversations where I'm able to tell her, Betty, I appreciate what you're saying right now, but now's not the time or the place for that. I know you are lying to me, and I am not what you are trying to portray me as. I am good enough to do this. People do want to hear me speak because I've got experience that I can share with them. But if I just leave her to her own devices, she screams. Oh, and does she scream? So by identifying it, giving her a name, giving her a face, I'm able to prevent that. Now, the other thing that I do is I am very much so into affirmation statements. So every morning when I wake up, I will write down, I am bold, I am enough, and I am worthy, and what that brings to the table for me for that particular day. So I have what I call a focus her journal. You can see it here, where literally at the very top, it says, I am bold, I am enough, I am worthy. And today that makes me prepared. I knew I was going to be coming in and talking to you all. Those things today made me prepared to be able to come in and have this conversation. So that's another tool that you can use. By the way, if you would like a copy of the Focus Her, you can drop your email in the chat and I'll send you a copy of it. No cost, no nothing. I just want you to be able to receive it. So it's a wonderful tool that I'm using for myself, and my clients use it as well. So once you've like identified your Bitchin' Betty and you're able to kind of quiet her down, the other thing that you have to do is really learn in the moment of how to quiet her down. And so, you know, just recognizing that you're in that moment. Right now, I've got a negative inner critic that is talking to me, and I don't need to hear that negative voice. So take a deep breath. Write down in a journal if you need to the things that you need to say to her. Close your eyes and just have that quick conversation with her. Betty, I really need you to be quiet right now. I know that you've got a lot of things that you want to say, but let's not say them right now. And let's just be quiet. You don't have a time or a place here right now. And then I always try to couple it with the powerful, positive things that my other side tells me, right? That, hey, Christy, you are capable of doing these things. You are worthy. You are enough. And really changing that mindset so that when I go into whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve at that moment, Mackenzie, speaking to an entire group that's not young elementary school teachers, or I'm sorry, students, now I'm prepared to go into that conversation and I can go into it with the right state of mind to be able to choose how I show up. And then I get to own it and I get to be the person that gets to decide, how I show up that particular day.
Thank
I
you,
love,
Christy.
yeah, thanks for sharing, Mackenzie. What about anybody else? Karen, I know you very well. How are you?
I'm good. Happy to see you.
You too. Is there anything you want to share about a time in your life?
I don't know a particular thing. It's a life struggle for me because I'll be very open and honest. I grew up with a father who made me and my sisters feel like we were never good enough. So nothing we did was good enough. So I have fought this battle my whole life. So any little mistake I make, I feel like it's a huge mountain.
Yeah.
So this is good to hear.
Yes. Well, so I encourage you, is there ways for you to be able to reframe that, right? Where instead of my father made me feel this way, taking ownership of that and saying, I felt this way because of the actions that my father had or that he did, but now I'm going to own it and I'm going to say, you know what? Again, there's no longer a time or a place for that conversation because I am good enough and I don't have to be perfect. I can be absolutely good enough.
Yep.
Because I'm with you, Karen. It was my mother for me, but I was made to feel like I wasn't good enough too. Yeah. Is it anybody else? Is there anything that you want to share that maybe a time in your life where you had to be perfect or feel like you were perfect? Hey, Lindsay.
Hi, I'll share. I'm my own worst enemy. My parents used to help me try to laugh at myself because I was upset I had to be. So I've realized, I've worked on it over the years that it is coming from within me that I want things, I guess I'm idealistic, and that idealism can become toxic. And it can become this need to be perfect. And I notice it sneaking up when I start over functioning and trying to control every little thing. Yeah. And it's typically because I feel out of control of something bigger. So then I start just trying to micromanage silly things in my life to make them perfect. Like that's going to make everything better. And what it does is it just really just creates this negative spiral.
Absolutely. I can feel that and how it would take you down that road. What are some things that you have done or could do to change that for yourself?
Well, I mean, I think the first step is recognizing it when early. If you can recognize it early, it's good, before the spiral gets too bad. And the way that I've been able to kind of pull back is through meditation practice and taking walks and just getting away from the things that I'm trying to micromanage. Just getting some perspective. Sometimes just laying in my hammock reading a book can help me relax enough to let some things go and to have that recognition of what's happening in me.
I love that. Again, that recognizing it, right? When you're in that moment, it's okay to take a pause and say, hey, there's something happening here right now that I just need to pause and step back and really be able to evaluate what's going on and why I'm feeling this way or why things are happening a certain way. So we want to share one last thing with you. Perfection really truly shows up in so many different ways, but one of the biggest ways it shows up for us in our careers is that we have to show up with a certain presence, right? Our hair has to be perfect. Our makeup has to be perfect. Girl, please do not even show up to a meeting if you don't have the perfect nail polish on. If you got a little tiny chip, you're like the worst person in the world, right? We've told ourselves that before. But what I want you to realize today is that perfect makeup, perfect hair, perfect outfits, perfect nails, those things don't make you smarter. They don't make you show up better. What they do is, number one, they may give you the confidence to show up the way that you need to, right? So one of the things that I did in my evaluation when I was thinking about how do I want to show up every single day, like what does my appearance need to do, is I went from one extreme to another. I said, oh my goodness, I need to have the perfect skincare routine. I've got to have a morning routine. I've got to have a night routine. I've got to have all of the makeup. And literally, I promise you, like, I'm sure my husband and my wallet were very, very angry with me. I went to Sephora and I bought all of the things. And I'm talking all of the things. My hair, for my makeup, for my nails. I went shopping and I found the perfect outfits that were supposed to be exactly what I was wearing. And what I realized is when I was showing up, I wasn't showing up perfect. I was showing up very, very stressed out because I didn't like those things. Right? I didn't like having all of that makeup on. I didn't like having, my hair put in a certain way or wearing a certain outfit because that's what I was supposed to wear. So then I went to the other extreme and I said, well, I'm not doing it at all. And I stopped wearing makeup. I would pull my hair back in a ponytail and I would come in a nice outfit, but I would just show up as my real, raw, vulnerable self. And what I realized is that wasn't making me happy either. I actually had to figure out what was really, truly okay for me. So for me, a great skincare routine only in the morning. I don't do it necessarily at night. I just wash my face at nighttime and I feel really good though. Morning, I put lots of, just skincare and, kind of touch up, a couple of things. My hair, I do what's comfortable for me on that particular day. There are some days that I embrace my beautiful curls, Mackenzie, like we were talking about before everybody arrived. And, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Other days I'm like, you know what? I need to pull my hair back because it's hot outside. And this is what's going to make me comfortable and what makes me show up as my absolute best self today. And ultimately, that's what's most important, is that you show up as your absolute best self, and best self does not mean perfection. Does not mean perfection. Today, I put on some really great face cream. I showed up with my lipstick that I love. And I hope that you recognize what I'm saying to you would not be any different if I showed up with full hair, full makeup, nails done, and sitting here in a suit. I'm still me. I'm still showing up as my best self, but I'm doing it where I'm comfortable. So that last thing I just want to, again, overcoming perfection, make sure you recognize it in the moment and that you pause and you're able to say, I get to choose how I respond to it. And then once you've made the choice, just own that choice and move forward. Perfect. Lindsay, that's what I've got today.
Oh, Christy, thank you so much. And I can tell by everybody's face, they at least got one little thing out of that. I got a bunch of things, typing them all down. So thank you so much for sharing. I have you leave us today. I want to take a quick moment to plug our professional development group for the admins called the Elevated Admin Growth Group. And delegates really invested in the admin support world. We know companies and business leaders can't run without strong admin support. And just like we nourish our bodies with healthy food and exercise, we need to nourish and invest in our admins to continue to build synergy and grow their skills. So this is a mastermind style group that meets once a month, just for 2 hours. And think of it more as an intense, focused EAC, but with content and learning that builds upon itself month over month over month, and it's less random in nature. So through this group, you'll up-level your skill set, you'll stay up to date on the latest tools and tech, develop strategic and critical thinking skills and strategies. You'll boost alignment with your company's goals too, and the impact that you have on those goals. And then you continue to expand your network and resource toolbox. So EAC members do get a discount of 25% off, and we recommend at least a 3-month commitment. But if you can prepay, you receive an even larger discount for a 1-year membership. Eileen will send out information after, but if you have leaders who are looking to invest in your growth, or maybe they need to do this too, it could be a great opportunity for you to share this with them and ask them to invest in your growth. So I really appreciate you joining us today. The next community meeting is September 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And our next speaker will be the great Arlie Kelm. She is the integrator here at Delegate Solutions, and she is going to speak on supporting difficult teams, which I think we can all relate to at one point or another in our careers, whether it's our visionary or the people that we are helping them work with. And of course, don't forget to join our Slack channel. I think I've seen you both in there, so I know that you guys are both in there. But it's a great place to learn about more upcoming speakers and other professional development opportunities. So thank you again, and have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next month.
Thanks, Mackenzie.
You're welcome.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you, Lindsay. Bye.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Karen.